Hi art kids, in this demo I'm going to go ahead and I'm going
I'm
to apply the
going to talk to you about how
pastel
I made this
techniques
mask,
that we
but
just
first I want to
reviewed
review value.
into a
It's
color
really important
draft
to think
for my
about your
mask that
pastels and lights
contains
and
positive
darks,
and negative
ones all
metaphors.
the way to 9.
Let's do this.
Also, it's really important to put blacks and whites next to each other to create contrast. So always put opposites next to each other. Talking about the color wheel. Okay, remember there are cool colors. It's really important to blend cool colors together. It'll just look nice, make your art more appealing. So always think about putting those cool colors and then put the warm colors next to each other. Always put those warm colors next to each other. You could have beautiful change. Now, in order to show the conflict of the promise, put opposites next to each other. These are your complementary colors. Remember them? If you put opposites next to each other, you're showing a significant change and how it is that you want to change as a person and be better. So when doing your color draft, first make sure, did you do research for good and it should say bad there. Good and bad metaphors that connect to your promise. So make sure you research those different metaphors. And then here we go. Here are some metaphors I found. A mask. I'm thinking about having a tear, showing growth, having a blindfold. I'm thinking about adding horns to show like this evilness that I'm leaving behind. Flower to show this acknowledgement of true beauty. And also thinking about different ways to show silence. Not going to work it in this draft, but I think I'm going to have some glasses where I envision my future. So step 2, combine metaphors in a pencil and Sharpie draft. So before you go ahead and before you even get started, you want to make sure you have all your supplies. And with the H pencil, you have H pencils, lightly do a sketch while you are looking at your metaphors. So you can have all your metaphors open on your Chromebook and then lightly do a sketch. I'm drawing a tree here at the top because I'm trying to symbolize growth. If you need to review how to draw eyes, we could go ahead, we could do a separate video for that. But I'm drawing an eye to show my truth, but also having a blindfold to show that I used to be blind in the past. Sewn up lift to mouth, half sewn up, half open to show my change. Now you want to show where the light is coming from with shading. Probably before you even start to work with the oil pastels, think about light. My light is going to come in from the right side, so I'm going to do a soft boundary to the side of the nose, right? So I'm just going to go ahead, I'm going to shade the side of the nose of my mask, and then I slowly start to work in those dark values and those hard boundaries. So you're using your B pencil to kind of really help the viewer to understand the difference between your different metaphors. Now, before you start, use a Sharpie to clarify your boundaries before you do pastel. Why? Because you don't want to ruin the Sharpie. So after you darken your values with a bold pencil, go ahead and get a dark value pencil. Finalize things. Ooh, I'm using some ellipses there. But then soon you're going to go ahead, you'll get out the Sharpie. When you're really sure about where all of the edges are, where's the edge of the blindfold, the flower on the eye. Obviously, you can use the Sharpie to darken the top of the eye, darkening the edge of the tear. Always thinking where your light's coming from, and then just having fun. Don't be afraid, right? You could do really sketchy and fun stuff with the Sharpie. So just let loose, have fun. I'm really darkening under the nose and under the horn because I know my light is coming from the top. Darkening the side of the tears. There's light coming out of the mouth of this mask because now I want to speak the truth. I want to open up. Darken hard boundaries with a B pencil. So before you even go with your pastel, you can always go back in with a bold pencil and darken things up even more, right? Or with your Sharpie. You can add an ear to show that you're ready to hear the truth, right? You're not going to ignore things anymore, right? I'm adding in some scars, adding in line work, and any sort of details that I plan on showing with my oil pastel. Remember to really clarify those relationships, right? Where do things start and end? You really got to do all this black and white work before you even work with oil pastel. Putting in some shadow where the blindfold is, darkening things up. Now, before you start with the oil pastel, apply generous amounts of white, right, where the light is hitting. So you always want to start with a ton of white so that blending is easy later on. So I'm putting in tons of white. You can't see it, but I'm putting tons of white oil all over the piece where the light is hitting on the right side. Adding that in. I used a little Sharpie there just because I realized I missed some spots, but I didn't put it over the oil pastel, I promise. Next, after you put in so much white is your friend, I swear. Now you're going to work in a ton of color. You're going to blend a ton of color into the white. I put white in the eye. Don't forget to put white in the eye. I'm still putting in more white. I must really think white is important. It is. It really is the secret to a great oil pastel piece. Now I'm blending in that color. I'm going to work in some green, starting with some green. No significance, I just think it's pretty. But now I'm putting in yellow because I plan on layering green and yellow on top of each other for a cool technique I didn't show you in the first video called sgraffito. So purposely, I am blending into the white, but I'm also layering colors on top of each other. Working in yellow and green, which are two warm colors, blending them together, but layering them. Putting yellow and then putting green. Yellow and then green. And I'm using that dark green value for the shadow, blending the yellow into the white. See, with my finger. Now I'm going to keep layering those similar colors on top of each other, bringing in a warm orange to the edge of that yellow to show like where the light's coming from. So I'm working in some orange right here. Then I'm going to blend all that together with the horn to make it look round. Now even a darker red, blending all that together, putting the warm colors together. Now I will use sgraffito. You can use like a kitchen knife for this or a plastic knife. I'm just using my fingernails. I know, gross. Now I'm darkening the background with green. Why? To make the horn pop because they're complementary colors. So you'll see I start putting cool colors and warm colors next to each other on purpose. With some more sgraffito there. Max is talking in the video, guys, if you're wondering who that is. So what I'm doing is I'm carving out more sgraffito with my nail. Again, you can use a knife, a very dull one, let's be clear, to go ahead and carve out lines in your pastel. Next, purposely put complementary colors next to each other to create visual opposition. So put those opposites next to each other to create contrast. Okay, so as I'm filling in all the color, yellow represents truth, right? So think about what your different colors represent. Yellow represents outside of the cave. I'm going to start to layer colors on top of each other that are opposites, right? So I'm putting blue next to the orange there. I'm putting red next to the green on purpose, darkening the red, okay? Putting purple next to the yellow. Starting to put those opposites, putting some hatching on the blindfold, blending it into that white. It's really good that I put all that white in there already, right? Really, really good. So I can just blend right there. I can blend all the white at once. Sorry, technical difficulty. Keep going. I'm blending opposite colors in. I'm using that light blue to represent light, right? Because like the light blue is almost white. I did that value sort, so I can use like dark and light colors to represent where the light's hitting. So putting in that dark blue where the shadow is. So add dark values to show shadows. So darker colors, some of my dark blues, and putting that shadow in underneath the nose. And the baby's talking, awesome. I'm adding more white in. I don't want to darken the flower too much, so I'm playing with that gray. It's really important during this week when you're doing your first color draft to just experiment with different colors. So I'm bringing in some dark shadows. Make sure you fill in all the space. Step away, make sure your different metaphors are popping. I'm shading in with a brown eye, right? Because I don't support the blue eye thing with the fake beauty. That's another thing. Anyways, a lot of light coming out of my eye to represent that I am now seeing the truth. My blindfold is off, I'm out of the cave, and I'm seeing the truth. Shading things in. I would recommend shading the background to make the mask come forward, because this is going to be a 2D piece. So I'm bringing down the value, adding some sgraffito in the back to show more conflict and visual opposition. Adding in some purple behind the sun rays. Purple and yellow are opposites. Putting blue by the orange. Really trying to make things pop out so my piece can be seen from a distance. You are welcome to work bigger for your final piece if you want to, if you feel like you need more space. I'm adding some shadows. Really important to add, if you're going to add black pastel, add that at the end because we learned during our first video that it's really mucky. So do black pastel or that black, that dark blue at the end because it can really muddy things up if you don't know what you're doing. Light pastels first and then dark values. And then last but not least, I'm filling in the gaps, adding some light inside of the mouth, more sgraffito. Filling in the gaps where the mouth is, adding in some shadow, darkening it up, adding in some shadow, soft boundaries, smooth edges and sgraffito around the side of the mouth down there to give the face texture, make it look interesting. Guys, really layer colors together and try sgraffito. Put one color and then another color and then scratch it away. It's going to look really cool. So put colors on top of each other and then scratch it away. So this is about it for my demo. For the tree, I wanted to use some stippling because I looked at my rubric. I know that I got to use different techniques. So I thought I could put a tree growing out of the mask and use the stippling for the leaves on the tree. So I'm kind of like trying to create unity by having similar shapes for scars, but also putting in like some stippling right here. I'm putting in a layer of orange first, then I'm going to work colors on the top, clarifying the hard boundary at the side of that horn, really making it clear, clarifying the edges, going ahead, shading the side of the flower, shading all the different edges. Notice how I'm moving around a lot? Like I'm not just stuck in one area. You know, I'll work in one area and then I'll go to a next because ultimately you want to move around so everything's unified, right? So playing around. Have I added the stippling yet? Where that's coming up? Oh, here I go. Stipple, 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 stipple. So I'm really punching the paper. Stippling might be a good thing to do at the end after you have a layer of pastel that covers the entire piece. Right, so putting in the stipple, 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 stipples. I'm even adding some sgraffito on top of it. Really experiment this week so you have a good color draft that you can show to other people. Remember, this mask represents your promise. It's the mask that you're going to take off. If you don't know what we're talking about with masks, go ahead, look back and check out lesson, what lesson is that, Max, that they need to check out? Check out lesson 5. Okay, and make sure you responded to We Wear the Mask That Grins and Lies because that's where a lot of these ideas come from. If you're lost, make sure you research your metaphors. Okay, go on the internet, figure out what are those good and bad human behaviors, what are the bad human behaviors you want to leave behind, what are the good behaviors you want to strive for, find some metaphors to draw from. If you're like, I'm stuck, miss, it's probably because you need to do more research. Okay, good luck, guys. Good luck. This is Max and Miss Copera signing off. Go art. Woo! Oh, wait, it hasn't stopped.